Euthanasia has been a hot topic lately in New Zealand, but despite all the media coverage, it's amazing how few people actually understand what is and what isn't euthanasia. Turning off life support is not euthanasia. Stopping medical tests and treatments is not euthanasia. Do not resuscitate requests are not euthanasia. In these situations, a person dies naturally of their underlying medical condition. It's also not euthanasia when a person receives extra pain medication to make them comfortable. None of these end-of-life practices are unethical or illegal. None of them are euthanasia. They are all part of good medical practice. The aim of euthanasia isn't to treat the patient's symptoms, but to intentionally end the patient's life, usually by injecting deadly drugs. The person doesn't die from their underlying medical condition, but by being poisoned. Don't be fooled by the slogans. Here in New Zealand, no one is forced to be kept alive and go on living longer than nature intends. We already have the right to die. The proposed bill is about something different. It's about legalising the right to kill a patient without risking prosecution.
Kia ora whānau, and welcome this afternoon to the live broadcast, Open Up Bro, Man Up New Zealand, bringing you this exclusive today, along with my co-host with the best. His name is Kaiwi Tukinga.
Kia ora whānau, kia ora whānau.
Now, we're joined today by some very, very special guests, and we thank them, first of all, for taking the time out of their day to join us. I'll go around the room, the virtual room that is, and just say the person's name, and they'll introduce themselves. Kia ora, Renee.
Kia ora, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to be on here. So I'm the Executive Officer of Euthanasia Free New Zealand, and I'm involved full-time in helping people understand the euthanasia issue and the End of Life Choice Act, which we are all voting on at the election.
Hannah Tamaki, Vision New Zealand.
Yeah, kia ora. I'm Hannah Tamaki. As Kane has said, I do also happen to be Kane's mother-in-law, that he loves very much, him and Kaiwi, both of them very good supporters. And I am the leader of Vision New Zealand, and my motto is Vote Vision for a better day for us today, tomorrow, and our future. And I want to say congratulations that we're actually doing this discussion, because this needs to be said and these things need to be heard.
Thank you very much. And over to that lovely couple down the below there. I know these people. They're my mum and dad, Matt and Ann Warren.
Yeah, kia ora. Well, I'm Matt Warren, and this is my wife.
Hi, everyone.
Kane's mum, Hannah's great friend.
Yeah,
and I'm one of those great friends too.
Yeah, he's my other best friend on this.
But it's lovely to be able to share with you today. So we thank you so much.
Yes,
thank you very much for your introductions. You will sing your song at the end to exit. That's the exit criteria today. You will sing a song each to exit this interview. Okay. Everyone will. If you've got any requests for our studio today, just post them through. Any songs you'd like.
Anne will be dancing. Anne will be dancing to Matt and I.
But thank you again for coming on and giving of your time. Now, this is the time for the audience. You're out there, and share. Particularly share this page now. Share this live interview. What we're about to discuss is very close to our hearts for New Zealand families, the euthanasia bill. So over to Kaiwi. Continue.
Yeah. So again, welcome to everyone that's joined in. We're joined by some very special people, but again, I can already sense a bit of turbulence in the room, a good turbulence that is, because it is a discussion that is very near to some of our hearts. And I guess it's not only a discussion, it's an awareness and an insight and information around the power that we have to vote. So if you are, again, tuning in, we'll give you this opportunity at the end of the show to definitely drop some questions. We've got some special people here that can very much answer those from their position and their platform. So whānau, communicate away, join in on the fun, but we're going to go straight over to, I guess, it's a simple 1-minute introduction, which you've already done, but what is one of your greatest accomplishments? What's your favorite hobby? And in the political climate today, what is your position? So I'll give you a minute to think about it as we're talking. What is one of your greatest achievements? What's your favorite hobby? And in the political climate today, what is your position? So we'll start off with the heartbeats that I can feel that's the highest at the moment. So we'll go with you, Matt and Ann Warren.
Okay, you go first, babe.
Always man before woman, or is it woman before me? Yeah, yeah. Greatest occasion, well, what do you say?
Accomplishment.
Yeah, accomplishment. Oh, gee, finding this woman here.
Beautiful.
Was got to be the best thing that's ever happened in my life, because she's been able to, we're still trying to straighten me up and straighten me out. But that's got to be the number one thing for me, is that connection, this connection here. Because if we didn't have this connection, we wouldn't have our this beautiful son and daughter and other son and grandchildren, etc., etc. So, yeah, and political, yeah, I guess, I've never really been focused on politics over the years, but this time around it's changed. The whole game has changed in terms of, if you're looking at the ideology.
You got 10 seconds. It's a minute.
The things that they're trying to introduce, or what they have introduced and have brought in, and now
Volume.
Your volume, Dad. We can't hear you.
And I really do. I guess hopefully many thousands of others that will hear what we have to say today about why we're voting or taking another option.
Sorry to cut in. There's a lot of gold here, but it's a minute. It's 1 minute.
Yes. Oh, 1 minute. Oh, gee, I've got to take all day.
What's the conversation will be going all day?
My wife's turn now.
Yep.
I just want to quickly say that for me, it is definitely about our future generations. I'm here to fight, and I will fight for them and for their children and their children. It's time for change. I've had enough. I don't know about every other person out there, but I have had enough, and I'm looking for change.
Excellent. Over to you, Renee. Your time has started.
Okay. So my favorite hobby is that I've got tropical fish, and just little babies have been born just recently, very cute. And one of my accomplishments that I'm really proud of is actually keeping them alive. And I've also been a professional pianist before I started doing this work. But yeah, politically, our organization, our supporters come from all over the political spectrum. So we're just focused on the euthanasia issue and encouraging everyone to vote.
Good.
Lastly, our political, personnel for the session here. Over to you.
Well, firstly, my accomplishment is becoming a matriarch of 4 generations of vibrant people who contribute to the community, with our children, our grandchildren, and now having the privilege of being a great-grandmother to 2 beautiful great-granddaughters. My political aspiration, I didn't really want to be political. I'm a people person, and the voices of our people are not heard. So for me, the mahi I'm doing at the moment is so that our people's voices are heard. So Man Up in Legacy and organisations such as Renee's, that your voice is actually heard instead of silenced.
Beautiful. Because I guess just before I do hand it back to Kane, I'll come over to you, Renee, because this discussion is euthanasia and understanding the field that you sit in. Maybe give us an insight to, what is this discussion of euthanasia? And then I'll hand it back over to Kane, because I understand with yourself, Matt, we did just celebrate a transitioning of life. And I guess that you've lived, and I guess your nan or your mother carried on to live and walk out the natural process of life. And I guess we'll get to that discussion shortly, but we'll start with you, Renee. What is euthanasia?
Okay, many people think euthanasia is about turning off life support, but that's actually already legal. And some people think euthanasia is about like when your heart stops to get CPR, get resuscitation. That's not euthanasia either. And some people think euthanasia is just to give people enough pain medication, but that's not euthanasia either. It's actually already legal for a doctor to give as much medication as needed to make a person comfortable, even if that could hasten the person's death. So what euthanasia is, it's intentionally ending someone else's life. So it's not ending your own life. It's not actually against the law to end your own life. Euthanasia is about ending someone else's life. We are voting on the End of Life Choice Act at the referendum, and that act says it's a doctor or nurse practitioner who would be ending someone else's life with a lethal overdose of medication. So usually injected or via IV, like intravenous delivery.
Yeah, thank you, Renee. I'm just appreciating what you're saying because, you know, being Māori, I'm a Māori man, and I come from I guess a bilingual family, Pākehā and Māori, but particularly with our Māori culture, it's very foreign hearing what you're saying. And I know you're representing the, you know, against euthanasia, but it's very foreign to hear that we potentially could become executioners, whether it be the doctor, the nurse, or whether it's permission from a family. Very foreign to us. And I want to just go to Dad and my father because, as Kaiwi said, our grandmother passed away 2 weeks ago. And that's probably the reason why Dad is on today for this particular topic, because as he said, he held the hand of the woman that raised him to the last breath. And won't chew into all your conversation, Dad, but just talk to us a little bit about, you know, that experience of going right to the end.
Well, just on the last, I guess I'll just go to the last couple of days of Mum's life. It was a happy, sad time, because when I say that, my mum often said that, you know, every other morning she'd wake up and say, "I'm still here. The Lord hasn't taken me yet." Life to her was a gift. She treated like it was a gift, and that it belonged to the Lord. And so it was something that he would take back, not that she would, you know, take herself, but he would take it and take her back. And so she anticipated, you know, had that day. She was expecting that day. But anyway, coming back to the last few days, we sat in the room, a hospital room, with her, and all she wanted to do was really hold my hand in and out of being conscious, subconscious, having a you know, trying to communicate with us. And the thought of losing her and watching her, you know, her body, you know, break down and start to as she started to die. But that was for me. It was a time that I never thought, you know, euthanasia, all that stuff never ever came to my head about that. I wasn't even thinking that, but I was just thinking about this person that I loved so much, and so much wanted to, in my own way, keep her, you know, and hold on to her, and she hold on to me, and a lot of reflection in that time, holding her hand, knowing that this is the hand that raised me, this is the hand that healed me, that washed me, that fed me, that blessed me, corrected me, pointed me in the right direction, gave me good advice, blessed me, prayed for me. That was the, and you know, that moment for me was very, very precious. So that, you know, I'm glad that euthanasia I would never have given that option, because I don't believe that it's the right thing to do. I don't believe that really people really want to go that way. I believe there's an ideology and a system that wants to go that way and take people that way and hoodwink them or whatever it is. But it was a very, very hard thing, but yet it was you know, I want to say a blessing for Anne and I guess, to experience that that moment right to the end. And she, you know, there were some options. She had some medical assistance in terms of just helping her, relieve her with pain, but it wasn't just a one jab shot, you know, boom, you know, and it's over. It was just something to relieve the pain. But she handled her death in a very dignifying way. I believe that you know, it was the right way to go. You know, I hear people saying, you know, it's painful, it's this and that, but I don't believe that we should, you know, voluntary or whatever way commit suicide or just kill. But yeah, it was hard, but yet it's when you can see the other side, you can see her reaching for that other life that we all as believers do. reach for, and that is to exit this life into glory, to be with our Lord and Saviour. So,
yeah, and to walk the journey through with Mum was a real honour, you know, and to see what her needs were, and for us to be able to meet her needs through that transition. That's a real honour for us as a family, you know. So yeah.
So thank you, Matt and Ann, Mum and Dad, I should say. But so Hannah, look, you've obviously had a lot of experience, and with a generational family, death is something we're all going to face. And you know, just talk to us a little bit about, you know, your views on, you know, just life itself.
Yeah, well, you know, I lost a dad 38 years ago last week from cancer, and we supported him all the way through it. And as much as he was in pain, a lot of the time they hold on for us, and they enjoy that relationship when you're loved, when you're afed, when you're supported. And a lot of their hanging on is for us. But as soon as you give them like the rights to go, their bodies will go at the right time. And then I also had two brothers right till their last breath, holding one in my arms, praying as he transitioned. And you know what? I think that love is better than a clinical way of execution or murder. And it seems like that this year there seems to be a whole lot of kill bills going on, but we are focusing on euthanasia. And reality is, as you said, Renee, I lost a brother-in-law also 4 years ago in February, and they turned his life support off. And I know that there is a difference between being comfortable and turning a life support off than actually giving somebody an injection. And I think Anne and I and Matt, we relate to the fact that we had to put our dogs down after 15 years, and we're there with the vet while they actually putting our dogs down. So what euthanasia actually is taking these people that you love and adore, and you're putting them down. And to me, that's a very cruel thing to be doing. And it's about the love and the support and them, and like ushering them in. But the Bible says in John 10:10 that the devil comes to lie, to kill and destroy. And it seems like to me, for everybody that doesn't know the Lord, it seems like the liar is convincing people that that's all right, to destroy our dignity and to take away the dignity of passing and transitioning of our own on our last breath ourselves. So that's the way I see it at this time.
I guess I'll come over to you, Renee. I guess it's brilliant and excellent. I guess the majority of listeners do carry a moral compass around what we're discussing. But I guess for you, my nan is suffering. Okay, my nan is telling me, you know, the easiest way is euthanasia, you know, and I guess the general public will be like, it's their choice. What would be your views with regards to that?
Sure. So most suffering is actually psychological, emotional, spiritual, you know, non-physical. So usually when a person wants to die early, or they want euthanasia, it's because of that non-physical suffering. So often it's fear of the future, or it's fear of being out of control, or it could be loneliness, depression. Yes, sometimes physical pain comes into it, but the palliative care specialists tell us, who care for people all the time, they say they can deal with physical pain really well. There are many options, especially if the doctor is well trained. Like people think about morphine, you know, how that's the only thing, but no, that's not. Like there's this drug called fentanyl, which is 50 to 100 times stronger than morphine. And again, that's only one of them. So there are many answers for physical pain. The problem is the non-physical pain, the spiritual, emotional, mental kind of pain. And the solution to that would be, you know, counselors, spiritual leaders, family support, social support. That's the answer to that kind of suffering.
Yeah, thank you, Renee. And that's really quite an important part of the structure of even Māori families, as an example, is that, you know, we call it, when they do pass, we have a tangihanga, you know, and that basically is a time where we celebrate a person's life, a loved one. We have the family gather, and it's not, dare I say it, it's not pulling someone out of a fridge, throwing them into a service and then just saying goodbye. I think as Dad says, is, you know, that when we know they're passing, the family gathers around the bedside. And I guess if we all asked ourselves, how do we see ourselves leaving this earth? Well, yeah, we would hope there'd be no pain, but if there is pain, we'd definitely, like you said, Renee, we'd love to have our family around us. our generations around us, talking with us, holding our hands, as Dad said about his mother. Those are some of the things that I believe are, you know, the fundamentals, whether you call them morals or our beliefs. But those are something I think we all agree that we want to protect.
Yeah.
Now, Hannah, I guess for you, Hannah Tamaki, hypothetically speaking, the way things are going, this bill does get passed, you make it into the government, what would you do with regards to this bill?
Well, I would love the people to be able to really, their voices be heard. And to be honest, we have seen so often that up to 90% of the public will say no to something, but they still push it through. I would like to see a binding referendum. So when the people actually speak, what they speak and what they ask for becomes binding and it can't be changed. You know, when you think of, when people are loved, and I'm going to say again, my brother 4 years ago in October, he had cancer, 7 weeks we had with him. But the last week we spent that at the hospital, the whānau, his children, his mokopuna, his siblings. We danced, we sang, we cried, we prayed. And at the end of his days, you could sense a peace because he could see his family were happy. We were loving each other. We were there with him and he knew we were there to support him and love him. There wasn't a lot of crying when he went because we dealt with that through that time. But the other thing is, it's like Renee said, when they are in their right mind and they feel the love and the support from their family and they realize their family know there's no turning back, there's not a miracle for them, it is time for them to go. When you can bring that peace, and I will say it, the peace that surpasses all understanding, past our heart, past our head, but to a spiritual dimension, it's empowering to that person to go in peace. And I think they will be fearful. And you know how people say they're up one day and down the next? So if somebody's got a mental sickness and they're like, today they're down, tomorrow they're up. What if they ask for that request on a down day, but in actual fact, there's a better day coming tomorrow? And those are the things that we've got to protect for these people.
We're going to have some, those that are watching, listen, if you've got any questions for our people that are on the panel today, well, it's a panel now, we'll turn it into a panel. Please just fire them through because we'll be able to see those questions and give them to our group here today. Look, I just want to talk once again, Matt and Ann, about, you know, when your mother, Nana, passed away, you know, how did that you know, affect the family, you know? And I often think if, you know, there was euthanasia and that she was poisoned and killed or taken out without having the mourning and not having that time to say goodbye. And we were doing this during COVID, by the way. So there was a lockdown restriction. So many of our whānau from Australia had to video call in. So just talk to us about that.
We did as I made it available for everyone that was overseas because obviously their hearts were with us as well and they couldn't be with us. So we brought them in through videos, all the latest things that we could actually attach them to see Mum. Their live stream, and we'd show Mum, and when she'd see the kids from overseas, she'd just light up, her face would just light up and she'd just go, oh yeah. You know, so there was all that, she could just see them and hear the kids. And I think mostly hearing them, just brought so much peace in her life. And for us, it was about being, even though it was hard going through COVID, the hospital were really, really good to us as well and allowing some things that weren't supposed to happen. But yeah, so that we were able to share the journey, you know, and I knew that Mum, I knew that she knew that what was actually happening with talking to all the kids, like they were talking to her, and she just had this peace on her face. And so being able to do that with all the family, even though they weren't physically here, was really important, you know, for Mum and for all of us. And the people that in the family that were here, we took it in turns, having COVID, so that there would always be someone with Mum, so that she would never be left alone. And yeah, I thought that brought, for all the family, extended family, it brought peace, because obviously we used to get a tangi, and also a tangi, we used to having people around all the time and coming and going, and so we've got a big extended whānau as well. So
beautiful.
Live streaming and talking to Mum, you know, on the phone, she just loved it. Yeah.
Thank you, Anne, for that. And I guess being a New Zealander, you know, being a Pacifica, you know, it's a tribal way of walking out life, and you come into this world, you live with family, you bond, and then you transition exactly like that. And I guess seeing such a bill being introduced gives an alternative to that ending of life, to that I guess that progress and transition of life. So I guess just to pretty much bring this conversation to so many, for me, politically, I did not know anything about euthanasia. I don't even probably still know as to my power when it comes election day in regards to what boxes am I ticking, the powers that I possess. And I guess with regards to that, you know, in regards to the power of the people and what they can do, Hannah, and I guess Hannah and Renee, what would you guys advise with regards to our people that are potentially going to that booth box and ticking for this bill?
Okay,
so you go, yeah.
Thanks. So the referendum at the election, it is a binding referendum on the End of Life Choice Act. It cannot be changed, and there are many problems with it. Like, even people who support the idea of euthanasia, we encourage them to vote no as well, because for a euthanasia law, this is a really bad one. So people need to know they need to get out and vote, and they vote on the End of Life Choice Act is a binding one. Okay. So if more than 50% vote yes, that law is going to come into force in about a year's time.
I think we've just had a question come to us, Hannah, with regards to Vision New Zealand. What separates you from the rest with regards to your stand as a politician?
Well, the thing is, we are not the givers of life, and we should not be the takers of life. And all these bills that are getting passed where it gives man the right to make decisions. I don't know whether this is a cultural thing or whether this is just somebody's idea, David Seymour, but reality is I can't imagine very many Māori or Pacifica people are going along with this type of legislation. The thing is, we're very, very tribal, we're very protective, and I think there could be a danger of there become family feuding and fighting, because what if one family's looked after the parents and the parents are very wealthy, and all of a sudden, oh, heck, mum's not well, dad's not well. So what do? We have friends in the medical profession and we say mum's not well, maybe she's got dementia, she's got a few little things, but that does not stop us from enjoying weeks and months of love with them. So will it become about greed? Will it become about, hey, I want to live my life and I don't want to look after this child with a disability anymore? Because it's not just about elderly people here, remember. This could be children that have disabilities, born with disabilities, not capable to care for themselves. But you know what? Everybody has a spirit, and every spirit deserves to be loved, cared for, and given the freedom to take their last breath. That's the way I totally see it. So for me, I'm against it. I'll always be against it. And if it goes through with a binding referendum, I will be the squeaky wheel moaning, complaining. And when people don't like it down the track, I'll say, well, what did you vote for? So get out, vote, make a decision. But as Renee has said, vote no until you are properly informed, because they're trying to they put a few sad cases before you and you feel sorry for them. But I've not seen a cultural case yet where they would agree with it. So let's have a big look and a big discussion.
Beautiful. Can I add something?
Yeah, it's beautiful, Hank. Yep, I totally agree with that.
Can I add something? Yeah, so this act is for people as young as 18. So yeah, children as young as 18, they will need to tell their parents, their whānau, if they do this. It's very much a Pākehā individualist thing. You know, that this person can request euthanasia the day they are diagnosed with a terminal illness. They don't have to tell anyone. And as soon as 4 days later, they could be dead. And their whānau could find out when they get the death certificate. This is totally opposite to Māori values, right? So the polls show that most people are in favour and most Māori people are in favour, but we know from our polls, most people don't know what this act is about. like 74% of people think this is about turning off life support. So when you see poll results, they don't tell the whole story.
That's fantastic, Renee, because we just had a few questions come through and you did answer one of them. One of the questions here is, what's not included in euthanasia? What actually happens? That's what somebody's asking. What actually happens? Do you know?
Okay, what actually happens? So the person needs to request it. And then 2 doctors need to check whether they meet the eligibility criteria, which is need to have a terminal illness with 6 months or less to live. But doctors tells us that's a big problem. They don't really know how long a person has to live. The person has to say they've got unbearable suffering, but the Act doesn't actually say what suffering needs to be. Like, it doesn't need to be caused by the illness. So that unbearable suffering could be depression, loneliness, financial problems, the list goes on. The person also has to like be in an irreversible decline in physical capability, which is really just another way of saying disability. So Hannah is right when she says this is actually about disabled people, you know. And even though a person has to request it, they can very easily feel pressured if they think the people around them find them a burden. And then the person has to have New Zealand citizenship or permanent residence, and they've got to be mentally competent to make the decision. But even if they are depressed, they can still be considered mentally competent. So 2 doctors check, excuse me, my voice, 2 doctors need to check that they meet the criteria. And then if those 2 doctors say yes, the person decides how do they want the overdose, injected or swallowed or whatever. And then as 2 days later, as soon as 2 days later, they could be dead.
Well, it's quite sobering.
Well, you know what, you've got to think of this. I know when my dad was diagnosed with cancer, you know, they were saying, you know, he wasn't going to live and all those sorts of things. I know I'm going back 38 years ago, but reality is he went into remission for 5 years. And how many people have overcome a sickness and gone into remission? So if you're told bad news, you feel sorry for your family, you don't want to tell them, but in actual fact, there's an option and a possibility and a strong possibility, because they say a lot of it's got to do with the wairua in here, your strength, your resolve. Now, if you're a spiritual person, you seem to perk up and heal a lot quicker or go through remission. Now, my dad went into 5 years of remission. So to me, how many people could possibly be giving up their opportunity to live another 5 years, 3 years even, to see the birth of their first grandchild, to see one of their daughters be married? There's a whole lot of things that I think people do not think about during this time. But because I've lost, you know, family, father, mother, 2 brothers, a brother-in-law, I visit Nana Warren when she was, you know, sick in hospital. The thing is this: we do not know when someone's going to take their last breath. And who is man to say? And to say they can make a decision and they'll get told 4 days later, well, I'll tell you what, there'd be a marry wall, there'd be a marry haka, there'd be everything going on if somebody did that to one of my family, because how do I know you're telling me the truth? You could be lying to me, saying they wanted to do it, but in actual fact, the medical professionals, somebody's talked to them and told them that it's okay when it's not.
Sounds like
exactly. Yeah. I can
Well,
remember.
Can I clarify something?
Saying to me that you know, prior to her passing into the hospital, but when she was in the care village, that she said, you know, I said, Mum, I want you to come and stay with us. She said, oh no, son, I don't want to be a burden. I don't want to be a burden to you guys. You guys are too busy, you know. And I said, Mum, we're not busy. We love you, and we're here. We you know, we want to. We're for you. Don't ever think that way. And she said, oh, is that right? Is that right, son? I said, no, you've got meaning and purpose. We want you around. But I guess it comes to a point in, you know, I guess in elderly people, but even in people who are in relationships, loneliness kicks in. You feel unwanted, unloved, and you know, to all our whānau, we should be reaching out to each other and embracing, you know, and pulling them in and offering them to so that to help them deal with that, because you can't see loneliness. It's hard to spot it, you know, and people are good at disguising pain, whether it's financial, you know, difficulties, all that stuff. So, you know, it takes work, but when you love somebody, when you've got to put some of that into action and reach out to people, because they don't know how to reach. Sometimes they don't know how to reach out. We can reach, you know, reach back, but we've got to be, you know, have that openness to, and that thing to be able to help. So yeah, and I think, you know, it's the Lord who gives life. I think Job 1:21 says that the Lord gives and the Lord takes away. So it's not. So he's the beginning of life and the end of life, and he will decide. Like Hannah was saying, we don't know that day or that minute when that last breath is, you know, is released. And so I just hold onto every opportunity that I could to, you know, just to be there and to hold her until she breathed, until Hannah knows about this with her brothers and her father and mum, and I guess a lot of us have experienced this, but it's a beautiful thing. It's not something that to fear death. You know, it's I can, you know, I was one who feared death for many years, but not anymore, because I understand the process and why we live and why we die, and that's because of my relationship with God and the people of God. So yeah, it's a difficult thing, but it's a beautiful thing too. So I'm talking about a loved one passing on, and knowing that you're going to see them again is it's awesome.
We appreciate your openness and just sharing your journey with us. Renee, you did have some last words that you'd like to share?
Yeah, it's a big shock when a person gets diagnosed. And we know from the research that most terminally ill people actually go through a period of depression, but most get out of it again. So the real risk is that people could be making a decision for euthanasia when they're still in that shock, in that depression.
Yeah, good point.
Like Hannah, 5-year remission.
Exactly.
Beautiful. So I guess just in closing, whānau, Hannah Tamaki, you know, Vision New Zealand, the stand, hearing you is not necessarily from a political perspective. You're just a real a person and you relate. And I guess just last words for you with regards to not only this position, but your standing in Waiariki, your standing and your political journey thus far. You know, it's very new. So any last words of encouragement to our whānau and family?
Well, you know what? If somebody told me in my family that they were diagnosed, I would spend as many days as it took till their last breath to be with them, regardless of what was going on in my world. Because to awhi somebody through who has done so much for me is the most important thing. So yes, I'm standing to be a voice for people. I'm standing with experience. And I just want to touch quickly on the fact that at 28 weeks, I had a 2.5 pound baby. 32 weeks, I had Kane's wife, Jamie, at 4.5 pounds. When they say they want to abort a baby at that, and there's these two girls that are very giving to their community now, I think we've got to push back people. We've got to make a stand and love everybody. The giver of life and the taker of life is the Lord. But seems like man thinks he's the Lord. Well, we will see what happens when day of judgment comes. But at the end of the day, people, think about the people that love you. They may think they're taking a burden off your hands by agreeing to that, but they don't understand how harder that will be that they had made that decision and not given you the opportunity to love, embrace, pray, sing, and thank them for the very special, amazing miracle they are.
Well, we're going to close off here, and thank you very much, everybody. I want to say to Renee, welcome to the family. That's what happens when you meet us. Just one meet, one conversation, and we're family. We just like to say on behalf of Man Up New Zealand, success to your cause. May God be with you and your organisation. We will be doing the no deal at the vote in regards to euthanasia. And so we just want, on behalf of Kaiwi and Hannah and Matt and Anne, we just want to say success to what you do for our country and for our people. And you're always welcome to interact with us, whether it be on the virtual room or even one day we get to privilege of meeting each other. It'll be fantastic.
Thank you.
And obviously to my parents, both my parents, Hannah, Matt and Ann, we love you guys. Keep doing what you're doing. You've been trailblazing for many years. Me and Kaiwi and many others that are viewing are very inspired by all that you guys do. You're fantastic, colourful, full of zest. Yeah. Young, that's right. And so we sign off now, and thank you very much. Next week, very good, Hannah brought it up. We are going to be talking about the other kill bill, abortion. We're going to be talking to people that have had experience with contemplating, following through with abortion, and just some of the effects, long-term effects that it's had on their life. It'll be their story. They'll be here to share it. So look forward to that next week. Other than that, Chloe?
Other than that, whānau, Man Up legacy continues throughout the motu as a support service to our whānau. And if you are very much in need of more education around what's coming up ahead on October the 13th, which is election day, whānau, is it 13th? No. October sometime, election day. Do tune into this channel here, but also ring 0800 1 Man Up for any sort of support, food parcel, whatever. Let us know. We're here for help. And blessed weekend. Happy Father's Day to all our dads out there, over here, and everywhere else. Matua Matea, happy Father's Day for this coming weekend. Bless your whānau. We'll see you later.
We are seeing a human rights emergency. They're killing us for defending our lives, our sovereignty, yes, our human dignity. Justice, equal laws, equal rights, equal freedom. Freedom is worth living for. No matter what race, no matter what religion, no matter where you come from, let's join hands in unity. We can make it happen.